So I finally tried Apple's Vision Pro. After using it, I don't just think that Quest is the better value. I think that Quest is the better product, period.
Mark Zuckerberg finally spoke out this week about the Apple Vision Pro after trying it out himself. Keep in mind, that's probably the most biased person you could ever hear a review from. But he posted over an Instagram 3.5-minute video talking about his experience with it, although it never shows one in it. He seems to very thinly kind of compliment some of the things that Apple Vision Pro is doing, and then immediately starts to shit all over it, talking about how the Quest is the better product, even at the price, you know, saying it's better for the vast majority of things that people use mixed reality for, and claiming that he was surprised to discover that. And interesting one, saying the hand tracking he found to be more accurate on the Quest.
Both headsets support hand tracking, but I found ours to be a little more accurate.
I wish I had a Vision Pro to help confirm any of this for all of you out there, but then he was quick to point out, of course, the flaws of it having cables. Its screens, although they look really good, they did have some trade-offs. People talked about OLED smear, artifacting, and other issues. But I think the biggest surprise that a lot of people see in the video, including myself, was the video was supposedly all recorded on Quest 3 mixed reality pass-through. And we've recorded a lot in mixed reality pass-through, and sometimes it can look really good if the lighting's just right, and other times it can look really rough. Obviously, somehow they found the right way to light this situation, because even on his dark colored shirt, you don't see any sort of noise coming through the cameras. They show at one point the person looks over and they can see that the HUD is actually up from the Quest. So this was just kind of an interesting thing to see them doing, kind of fueling this whole headset wars thing. And I think that ultimately Meta knows that it's good for them to have something like an Apple Vision Pro that's so out of reach for people that it may have them look to actually get a Quest instead to see what they can do with it. But for those of you out there who watched the video, I'd love to know in the comments, what do you think about it? How'd you feel about his take on it? Of course, his perspective on it. And for any of you out there who have a Vision Pro, are you feeling anywhere near the same way he is? I'd love to know and discuss it with you in the comments. If you haven't gotten a Quest 3 yet, XLab is giving away 10 Quest 3s, but they're also giving away a top-of-the-line VR-ready gaming PC. This is a custom gaming PC built after Haby147, the VR content creator, and this is all to celebrate the launch of their first-person shooter, VAIL, finally coming out today. VAIL has been in development for 7 years with all kinds of testers checking this game out and giving them feedback so that they could change it up. It's leaving early access and it's coming out on Quest and Steam with cross-platform play and even login. What the game is most known for is its physics-based weapons and extremely realistic gun mechanics. At launch, there's some new features too coming: matchmaking, progression for unlocking weapons and skins, new weapons, new maps, and more. Make sure you get entered in that giveaway. There'll be a link down in the comments and description down below. And there's also a code hidden somewhere in this video to get extra entries in that giveaway if you want to watch, so make sure you watch this video till the end. Thanks to XLab for sponsoring the news, and it's exciting to see VAIL finally coming out because we've been talking about this for years. We had their CEO on the podcast. Exciting to see VAIL finally launching, so if you get in, let me know how you're feeling about it now that it's launched. Apparently they're passing around the Apple Vision Pro headset over at Meta headquarters because Meta's CTO Boz also weighed in on Instagram about what he thought about the Vision Pro, with a bit more objective notes, with him actually praising things like the latency of the pass-through and the clarity of the screens. He did also drop in a lot of the keywords that Meta was probably hoping, talking about how the cord was in the way, how he didn't like how it was touching his ear, saying that the smear on the screen really messed up the experience if you were moving around quickly. But some interesting things he brought up: he said that the hand tracking really does seem to be better on the Quest, which from video footage we've seen of like the Fruit Ninja game that's come out on the Apple Vision Pro, it does seem like there's quite a bit of latency between the hand tracking if you need to move your hands fast for games. Luckily, most of the other games we've seen release on the Vision Pro, like Synth Riders, don't rely heavily on fast hand movements, but more of a controlled, keeping your hands along a track as it goes. Or of course, the games like Chess or Battleship wouldn't require nearly as fast of hand movements as Fruit Ninja. An important note to keep in mind here, though, is even Quest, when it first launched its hand tracking, it wasn't nearly to the level it is now. This doesn't mean the Vision Pros can't improve over time with updates and more research, and in fact, I expect we'll see that with the hand tracking getting a lot better. Boz also echoing the same sentiments, though, that he initially expected the Vision Pro to be still the most premium headset and the Quest to be the best value, still trying to say that the Quest is the better headset overall.
I think we have the best headset out there. I think if you want to get a headset that does mixed reality, I think you should get Quest 3.
I really need to get my hands on one of these Apple Vision Pros to see if there's any validity to that, because obviously these people we're getting these reviews from are very, very biased. It was recently reported that Meta Horizon Worlds, basically Meta's version of Rec Room or VR Chat, was climbing ranks and was actually up there in the top free social apps with Rec Room and VR Chat. But the question now is it worth playing if it could risk you losing all of your games? For a long time now, people have been banned in Horizon Worlds if they've broken the code of conduct, but now with its version 149 updates, you can actually appeal those bans. A few other interesting updates updates came out with this as well, though, saying now code of conduct breakers could have their microphones temporarily muted. They could temporarily lose access to some Quest features, including chats, groups, and calls, in addition to losing their access to Horizon Worlds. And severe or continuous violations may result in not only your Horizon profile being disabled, but even your Meta account, which is what has your games attached to it. These are some interesting steps, and it's interesting to see that they're now letting people appeal bans, so we'll probably see more people back in that maybe shouldn't have been brought back in, or at least the people who have unnecessary bans. Although, of course, over on Twitter, people like Nathy making jokes that he's been banned since day one because it wasn't available outside of the US for so long. Meta Horizon Worlds now reports being available, of course, in the United States, but also the UK, Spain, Ireland, Iceland, France, Canada. So it's slowly rolling out. I recently said I figured it was about time to get back in and check it out again, although I still haven't yet. But I know there's people out there who spend their evenings, whole days in this thing, hanging out, building, and meeting new friends. And apparently, if you've been banned before, now you have the chance to get back. We've only got 2 days left on our newest Quest 3 giveaway if you haven't gotten entered, and I haven't really been great about mentioning it to all of you out there, so you might not be aware. With that, this is actually one of our lower total entries as far as actual people that have entered. It's about 2,000 people, so it is higher chances than the normal one. So if you missed out on it, there'll be a link in the comments and the description in case you want to jump over and get entered in that. This is another way of thanking you all for your support over the years. We just hit 70,000, so thank you once again. Make sure you get entered if you want to. If you've been around VR a long time, the name Felix and Paul might sound familiar because in the early days, it seemed like any VR film that came out was somehow involved with Felix and Paul Studios. Whether you were watching Jurassic World Blue or one of the Cirque du Soleil experiences, now Felix and Paul Studios has actually secured a multi-million-dollar financing for a location-based VR experience. That meaning this is something you would have to travel to and go see in person. We don't know much about this next location-based experience, but it's set to launch in 2025, saying that it's their most ambitious project yet. Although currently they do have a location-based VR experience, although you'd have to go all the way to Vancouver, Canada, Denver, or Houston to check this one out. And that Houston showing isn't coming until May. Currently, the one they have is Space Explorers the Infinite. It lets multiple people together actually walk through the International Space Station, seeing this in virtual reality. There's a lot of different location-based VR. Things like Zero Latency or Sandbox might actually be close to you. And if you've never tried a location-based VR, I would highly recommend it. It's just really cool because it's not only a solo experience. More often, you are with your friends, you see them in the track space with you, and you can actually walk around and move in VR, which is so much more immersive. Although we might be near Houston after May, so if we are and we check this out, we'll definitely share it with you. We've talked to you a little bit about iFixit's series on the Apple Vision Pro that they've been doing, where they're tearing them down and finding out more and more about the internals. In another video they've dropped, they were actually trying to measure the exact resolution of the headset and see if it stands up to what Apple had claimed. This is getting pretty in-depth now because you're actually having to use microscopes to really see in this headset with how small all of the features are getting. With the pixels in this being so small that they actually measured each pixel to be about the size of a human red blood cell. iFixit saying that you can fit 54 of those Vision Pro pixels into the space that takes up for a single pixel on the iPhone 15 Pro Max display. This, of course, being necessary because the screens are so small, they're so much closer to your eyes, and the lenses are magnifying them so much that if you want to eliminate screen door effect, you have to have extremely tiny pixels. Apple had claimed that there was going to be 23 million pixels, and iFixit came up with a total of about 23.4 million pixels combined. This means that they were very close, and it does seem to be accurate. iFixit goes far into details, so I will leave a link in the description in the comments to that video directly if you want to check it out. It's an interesting watch, and it's not a very long video either. And then, of course, there's also the first iFixit teardown that really pulled it apart. I'll leave a link to that too. We've been keeping you up to date on what's going on with the PSVR 2, especially the fact that it had holiday sales that were much, much lower than the Quest. Although, of course, not that surprising, being that with the PSVR 2, you have to own a PS5, so it's a much smaller possible user base. Well, now Sony has released official figures for their PS5s for the third quarter, citing another 8.2 million, pushing them up over 50 million PS5s, but they did not tell us the sales figure on the PSVR 2. It's always frustrating when companies don't want to give out official information on sales, although we're pretty used to that in the VR industry. Sony was one of the ones that was saying the most, although because their first headset probably had a lot to brag about because it was selling more than any other. Kind of following along with the old adage in business, no news is usually bad news. We haven't heard from Sony since they originally told us at least that it had sold 600,000 units in its first 6 weeks, which was more than the original PSVR. Basically, what we told you in the news before, though, through people analyzing Amazon direct sales, it seemed like the ratio of PSVR 2s to Quest was about one PSVR 2 for every Quest that was sold. That does include much cheaper Quest 2. We're still at least seeing some news of games coming to PSVR 2, albeit games that are landing on most other platforms, not necessarily exclusive games. But hopefully in this next quarter, we'll get some sort of concrete information we can report back to you on how the PSVR 2 is actually doing. Some news was circulating around Twitter yesterday. We saw a post from Nathy saying, "What is this and could it be real?" A new website sprung up, ValvePrism.com, looking like it was a Valve VR headset that was completely standalone that could play play games. A day later, multiple articles have come out debunking this website, saying that this is something someone made and it is using some of Valve's assets, but saying that this is fake. Valve responded directly to PC Gamer through email confirming that the website and the Valve Prism name are both fake. It's unfortunate because this thing did look really promising, and we've all been waiting so long to hear more about the Valve Deckard, or at least see what Valve is going to do next with VR after their Index was such a popular headset, even at its expensive price, still considered by many to be one of the top PC headsets. Hopefully this helps remind Valve that we're all waiting and hoping that they come up with something for us, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. With all that out there going on, we will be at GDC next month, it looks like, so if any of you are going to be out there, let me know, hit me up, DM me. Be excited to see what's going on. Hopefully we'll get some more big announcements, whether it's games, VR tech news, whatever it is, we'll keep you updated here on the channel. But I want to say thank you to all of you. You just pushed us all the way up to 70K. It's been a huge year last year. It's looking like it's going to be another huge one this year. So thank you, and I'll see you in another reality.